What's up everyone, it's DV and I am in Roblox Islands showing you the latest Iron farm that is actually way more efficient than the original Iron farm that I made a while back here. And you've probably already seen my Iron farm many times on probably hundreds of islands that you visited. You usually see you're actually breaking the block under the iron ore, and that is actually great until you actually have to refill the block. Once you need to replace the broken block, it takes forever for you to be able to replace it. So especially if you have thousands of blocks to have to replace. If you have a really big farm, then it's a big pain in the butt. So this video will actually show you how to replace those blocks very quickly. And huge shout out to Please Send Help Now 227 for showing me this technique. He actually improved my farm that I had done before. It's actually really cool. So let's go ahead and get to it. But before I begin, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. So there's a couple options here. So if you are looking for an auto AFK grind method for Crystallized Iron, I would say go ahead and use this smaller one, this more compact one. It doesn't really require that much materials, and all you need are some blocks. You don't even need to use glass. If you want to use dirt, that's fine, or sand. You go for it. You can use whatever you'd like there. I like glass because just glass looks way better and it just breaks faster. You're not really breaking blocks in this one. What you're doing is you're still gonna farm no different than usual, right? So you're still gonna farm no different as before. The difference between this farm and the other is that you're pretty much gonna sit here in AFK. You're not gonna be doing heavy active grind. So whereas the really big Iron farm is the most effective and efficient way of getting crystallized iron very quickly, and that's why it's a popular build, is because most people, especially on mobile, most mobile players are not AFK grinders. Some of them are, but most of them are not. So this farm actually works really well for mobile players, whereas the auto AFK does not. And you can see here it does cost a lot of totems. I've got a ton of totems in my glass build here. The one thing that you're going to notice is right away is that I've got a ton of signs, and there's a reason for all these signs. The signs are actually used to block the ability to build blocks in those sections. So by having a sign in that area, you're actually preventing any kind of blocks during clicking to actually get placed where you don't want them to be. So they're actually just blockers. So consider these blockers. So when you have a sign occupying a space, you're not actually allowed to build another block on top of that sign, right? And the nice thing is the sign, especially when it's sideways and floating by itself, it's not really actually in your way of clicking either. So you're gonna actually be able to click straight through it because it's only through the side. So you see all these signs are sideways. Well, I'm still able to click through behind them because they're not blocking anything. So this is a really great technique for being able to replace blocks very quickly on the original Crystallized Iron farm. And you can actually update your existing farms with this method. You'll see what I'm doing here in a moment, and it's going to be crystal clear how to set this up for many of you that actually already have these farms. But if you're new and you haven't actually created a Crystallized Iron farm, you might want to just look at my original video. This is actually a pretty advanced technique. I would not say this is going to be easy for most people. In fact, it does cost a ton of wood because of all these signs. I think I used about 1,000 wood in the creation of all these signs. Now, of course, wood's not a big problem for me because I do have an auto wood farm. If you haven't watched that video, go check that out. I've linked it in the description as well. But that auto wood farm will actually help you a ton. You can get I get about over 6,000 overnight, sometimes more. So you're never really going to run out of wood if you use that farm. And so in this technique though, if you're looking for the fastest way to get crystallized iron, this is really the way to do it, because now, whereas you used to actually spend forever replacing the blocks, like after you break that block, it took forever to replace that block, right? I know you know the pain I'm talking about. I've gone through it so many times while I'm grinding for crystallized iron, and this method actually makes it really pain-free. It's basically painless. As long as you have an auto clicker, you can pretty much just run through an auto click and replace those blocks. It's really nice. So you can see here, I'm going to do a couple run throughs so you can see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to actually show you how to build this in a step-by-step basis. And the one thing I want to say is a lot of you are probably like, dude, DV, that's actually going to cost me millions. It's going to cost me millions to build that. And I would say go ahead and just follow my pattern and start here. You actually don't need to do the full long farm. You can actually just do a shorter version and just expand as you need to. So once you get enough money to buy more totems and buy more wood or make more wood or whatever you need to do, then just expand when you need to and just follow the pattern. The pattern is really simple to set up. But let's go ahead and head over here. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you how to make this. And so we're gonna go ahead and use grass just so it's a little easier for you to be able to see. So first up, you're gonna make a middle lane here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a W. So almost like a W, it's almost like you're looking downwards onto a W. So we're gonna go 3 wide on this. and then we're gonna raise the center. So we're gonna bump the center lane by 1 block. And then we're gonna expand it out on the right, and we're gonna make a guide. So again, and then we're gonna do the same thing on the left. It's looking a little bit more obvious that it's a W. And then we're gonna bump up the middle one again, because we need that space up the top. That looks good. And then we're going to do basically every 4 blocks. So you're gonna have a 2 block gap in between. So you can see here, I've got block. So I've got 5 here. And then you're gonna alternate on the other side. You're just gonna offset it by 1. So you're just offsetting it by 1 block, because if you lined it up exactly the same, you wouldn't be able to replace the blocks later, because you're gonna be blocked by the other side. So you need to have it offset so you can see through. And it'll make more sense in a moment as you're building. And then you're gonna go 2 up and then 1 across here. So you're gonna do a backward C. It's like almost like a reverse looking C. And then we're gonna go ahead and do these. So we just do this for all of them. It has like a little hook, and you may need to expand out. I've already got this little U-turn built in. So just build the U-turn however long you're going, just build the U-turn wherever you want. As long as you can get to the blocks, you're good. Looks good. Okay. So on the edges, on the other hand, you're gonna use glass. So we wanna make it super easy for us to break these blocks. So we're gonna use glass as the blocks for easy breaking. So you can see that looks good. That's where the ore is going to spawn. So the ore is actually going to spawn right on top of that glass block. And now we're going to make our outside paths. This is our refill paths. So this is the route we're going to be taking to replace our blocks. So just put a little guide on the right here. You can see I'm making sure I don't fall off. So you make the path that you're going to actually run on, and then you're going to make the path, and you're going to make a barrier just so you don't fall off while you're running. And then you're going to want to fill in the inside too. I don't know about you, but I don't want to accidentally have, these drop offs where you're running across and then suddenly you fall into a gap. So I just like to fill that in, and we're going to repeat the same thing on this other side here. So I'm just got to make a little path here, expand that out, and we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to make this, all you need is 2 blocks. So you can see I've got doing the same exact thing on this side as I did the other side. And then we're gonna fill this in. Now, if you're using glass, whenever you're doing long paths, if you're using glass, especially if you're doing like clear across the map, just auto click it. So glass, you can auto click. You can't auto click builds on grass as well. It gets a little out of control. Next, what we're gonna do here, you can see I'm actually making a reverse L here. So you're gonna do a backwards L, because otherwise if I did a normal L, then it would block it. So you can see it's blocking this path. So we need to do backwards L. Let me clear this out real quick, because it's going to keep spawning ore right on top of my grass. Let me get rid of that and fix that. Okay, so backwards L's, going back to the backwards L's, we're going to finish this up. That looks good, and that looks good. So you can see these windows. Those are the windows we're going to be replacing blocks through. So now we're going to get our signs out. And so you're going to pretty much on these insides and the outside of this L right here. So we're just going to start on this side. And so these are blockers, like I said. So you can see if you didn't have these, that's what would happen is if you're auto clicking, it would just build a ton of blocks on the outside. But if you have the signs, it's going to prevent that from happening. So we're going to put that on the outside for each of these. So every single one of these, just click and then hit escape. Click it, hit escape. Click, hit escape. Because you don't need to type any text in these. So just click and then hit escape. You're good. And then we're going to fill in the next piece we're going to do is we're going to click on the insides here. So we're going to do 2 on each of these like that, and just keep doing it for all of them. And you can do the outside there too. And the reason why even though we're not going to ever build on the outside of this, you just want to keep up with your pattern in case we expand. You don't want to accidentally forget to put signs on stuff. And that's good, but the problem is look at the middle. So as we're going through, you can see the middle is going to actually be a problem while we're replacing, but you can see it's like right in between these blocks. So it's like right in between. So it's almost like a diagonal connector, like a chain. So you're going diagonally. And what you're going to do is you're going to build signs on both sides of these blocks. So that grass block needs a sign on both sides. And what that's going to do is that's actually going to make it so that you can't actually build in those spaces, because the sign is actually blocking any kind of building in that spot, right? Again, if you're clicking somewhere and it's got a sign on it, you're not going to be able to build a block in that spot. So that is so that we can actually, build straight across and not get excess. We just want to build 1 block. We don't want to build a bunch of blocks. We want to build 1 block to replace our old block. So pretty simple. And this is actually really, really straightforward. If you just, follow these steps, it's just a pattern. It's just like Legos. If you've ever played with Legos, it's the same thing, right? You just need to know this is the pattern and you just keep repeating it. So go ahead and get rid of these. And now we just have a bunch of floating signs. And get rid of that. And this outside one. And then we're going to go and test this real quick just to preview it. You can see there's no blocks trying to be placed except right there. And if that happens, just change your angle for your pointer. Just move it up a little bit. So just slightly angle your pointer up so that doesn't happen while you're auto clicking. So I think we're ready for totems now, and just make sure you do the other side too. It's looking good. So let's go ahead and place our totems. So you're gonna put totems on all of, so pretty much the bottom part of the L. On each of those, you're gonna put 2. And what you're gonna wanna do is make sure you're not touching stuff during this time. But let me put some lights out too. Just put the wall lamps, you know, somewhere that it doesn't blind you. And then you're gonna run through here. When it's time to farm, you're just gonna blast through here. But for now, what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna just sit here and watch these respawn. So just let the totems do their job for a bit. Let them fill up before you start attacking the ore. Because if you start attacking it now, it's just gonna be not very effective for you. It's gonna work against you. So just give it some time, you know, take a break, let it refill. Once the totems are refilled, then you can come back and start farming. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a couple dry runs through here. So let's go ahead and just do a straight run through. I know things are still the totems are still kind of filling up, so it's not gonna be as good as it can be, but I'm just gonna go ahead and just test it just to make sure we're not having any issues here. So let's go through, and okay, so I gotta refill these, and we're just gonna hit the auto clicker. We're just gonna make sure it's angled high enough. There we go. And that's done. It looks like it replaced just fine. It looks good. And then we're gonna replace the other side as well. But you can see the totems are still not full. You can see how they're respawning things. It's just they're too fresh still. In the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and go over here and refill my bigger farm here and show you again how effective a bigger farm would look. Again, this is the same kind of build. What you're seeing is the same exact build. You're just seeing it in a glass form here. And I like the glass better. I think it looks cooler. But it's the same, like I said, it's the same thing. And you can actually, inside this build too, if your auto clicker is fast enough, you can actually hold down shift and sprint run through to refill, which is even faster to refill stuff. If you think about it, you know, if you're using my fast pick, which, you know, again, check out that video if you haven't already. It is linked in the description, so you can learn how to fast pick using a macro. It is not mobile friendly, again, so if you're trying to do it on mobile, unfortunately it won't work. But, you know, you can always do this on mobile. In fact, on mobile, players can actually also put conveyors in here. If you really want an expensive build, you could just add conveyors. Again, why would you do that? But if you wanted to, you could do that. The nice thing is after this, I could just sprint through and refill everything. So it's way more effective than my original design. And I think you're gonna really dig this, especially if you upgrade your current farm. So you may need to actually rewatch the video and just pause those points as you need to if you're having struggles of how to, you know, upgrade your farm. Again, the only downside is you're gonna have to offset your nodes to be able to see the other side. So that's the big, you know, oof, is that if you're trying to update your farm, you will need to offset the windows so that you can actually see through them. And then you're gonna have to add that outside path so that you can easily look in and auto click, and then obviously all the signs. So it's not that bad. It's just, it is a bit of work depending on your farm design. If your farm's pretty small, you know, I would just redo it completely. This is it. It's actually super cool. Oh, and before I forget, be sure to check out the auto farm for wood. You should you know, build something like this. It's, you know, a lot of people forget that you can actually auto farm these, and is super efficient. If you're on mobile, you won't be able to auto it, but you can actually just sit there and farm wood. You know, it's really easy to farm wood this way. Some people have actually also made wood farms out of my cry iron farm design as well. If you want to try that, go for it. So again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take it easy.